Two childhood friends on a dream holiday, fishing with a guide in the Sea of Cortez. But when their boat crashes on a remote Mexican island, their trip becomes a nightmare ordeal.
We're out of food, we're out of water. Now we got nothing.
Exposed to the harshest of environments, these self-proclaimed city boys must rely on each other to survive.
We could die here. And nobody is ever gonna find my bones.
Jump! I can't do it! You get over here! Jump now! Get him up! No! Come in. Come on, let's go.
Joe Rangel is on a dream fishing cruise in Mexico's Sea of Cortez.
I've always been pretty much of a city boy. I like going outdoors, I like going fishing, I love going fishing. And when I started going on these trips, I found my niche. To me, that is the greatest trip in the world, is to go down there for 6 days, get on a boat, and forget everything. Just fish till you drop.
To share the experience, he's invited his childhood friend, Lorenzo Madrid, along for the trip.
I first met Lorenzo Madrid when we were in junior high school.
Hey, Larry.
What?
Look at that. See,
We were pretty much good time boys.
Oh, yeah, she's got your beard.
Hey, shut it. He was a good guy to hang around with.
Hold on.
The men are based on a tour ship anchored off Guardian Angel Island, 20 miles from the Mexican coast. The east side of the island is popular with fishing tours, but today their local guide, Pepe, is taking them to a remote cove on the more exposed western coast.
It's quiet, it's desolate, you're all alone.
She comes, come on.
It's like fishing nowhere else in the world.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
It's fantastic.
I can't believe it. Look at that, Joe. Try another lure.
Get out of here. You think I don't know what I'm doing?
Well, how many have you caught today?
Nothing.
The detour to the remote side of the island pays off. After a successful day's catch, the two friends are more than happy with their guide, Pepe.
He's a nice kid. He's outgoing, willing to please. Pepe did not speak any English at all.
What'd he say?
The bucket's too small, man.
The bucket's too small.
Sí, vamos.
As the sun starts to set, it's time to head back to the tour boat.
We just sat down and opened the beer and get the ride back to the big boat.
But when Pepe swings south, the boys begin to wonder if they're heading in the right direction. The tour boat was anchored on the northern tip of the island.
Should we go?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. This does not familiar to me.
Pepe, ¿dónde vas?
So I asked him, isn't the boat back there?
Vamos bien, el Celiangelina se fue para el sur mientras ustedes andaban pescando.
Sí.
And he said, no. While you guys were fishing, the boat passed us. And they went this way.
I didn't say it.
Nah, me neither.
We figured he's a professional, he knows what he's doing, he knows where he's at. And we left it at that.
But after an hour, motoring south along the island's coastline, There's still no sign of the tour boat. And Pepe has more immediate concerns.
Joe! Ya no hay gasolina.
¿Cómo cae la poca gasolina?
He tells us, I think I'm running out of gas.
What's up?
No fuel is what's up.
It just gets better.
It was a bad situation. It was dangerous.
They have just minutes before the engine cuts out. And without power, Joe knows they can't steer the boat and could easily be swept out to sea by the currents.
I said, let's beach this while you have power.
Pepe, vamos a la playa.
¿Qué playa? Pura roca, no puedo para allá.
Their only hope is to make it to land. But the island's coastline is a fortress of jagged rocks and sheer cliff faces.
He said, there's no beaches. This whole island is rocks.
They know they have no option but to try to reach the shore.
Between the current and the sharks, I'd rather take my chances on land than out in the water.
Vamos.
No me quiero estrellar, no puedo estrellar.
Vamos por ella. A la playa, vamos.
The only thing you can see is the white of the pounding water on the rocks. We were scared.
Their only way to reach land is to power the boat directly into the raging surf. But just as it seems they'll make it safely,
a surge of water hit me from behind and forced me into the rocks.
the men make it to shore. But they're now stranded on the island, with no way of calling for rescue.
Larry! Hold on there.
You're totally soaked, the wind is blowing, and we started shivering down to the bone.
Bring it back.
The men search for driftwood and build a fire,
Made a fire before.
using up their last few drops of fuel to get it going.
Once we got the fire going, we were able to dry off, and it wasn't all that unbearable anymore.
Not so bad now, Larry.
We knew it should have been an easy thing for the big boat to pick us up the next morning.
It's calls for a beer.
The men resign themselves to a night out in the open, believing their stay on the island will be a short one.
Boat will pick us up in the morning. We out.
They spend the next morning waiting to be collected.
My guess was that we would be picked up no later than noon. All we have to do is just wait, and the boat should be here.
Midday comes, and there's no sign of rescue.
Now it's getting a little bit more serious as the day is wearing on. We need to get out of here.
Mid-afternoon, and Pepe drops a bombshell.
I said, well, I don't think they're gonna pick us up.
The men are washed up on the side of the island that fishing boats never visit. Their tour boat won't look for them here.
They're not gonna come this way. They're not gonna look for us. It's like somebody just pulled the bottom out from under you.
La única manera de salir de aquí es si nosotros hacemos algo al respecto.
¿Qué hacemos?
What's he saying?
He said the only way we're gonna get off of here is if we do something ourselves.
Pepe comes up with an audacious plan to get them back to the mainland.
Si no tiene agua, pero la podemos sacar con la cubeta. Si a Larry le podemos dar la cubeta, unos remos, se puede buscar para...
He says we can bail it out. Get it on the sea. Maybe we can use it.
Is he serious?
He said, we can take this boat across. We can row across.
Larry, ¿puedo sacar con la cubeta?
Between the three of us, we can get it over there.
With no fuel for the boat's engine, they'll have to row to the mainland. But it's a 20-mile journey across open seas.
It was an unbearable hot day, probably close to 100, but it felt good to be doing something.
Out. Get the rhythm. Keep this up, guys.
We actually thought we could make it.
For 2 punishing hours, the men row in the intense heat, their hands torn by the rough driftwood paddles.
I'm getting exhausted. I am getting to the point where I'm just gonna drop.
As the sun dips towards the horizon, the men's stubborn determination finally pays off.
¿Qué es eso? Mira, para allá, barcos. ¡Hay barcos!
Aquí!
You can see people on boats. They didn't hear us. They didn't hear us. They didn't look. They didn't do anything.
They can't see us. Joe, keep paddling.
The men push on, hoping to close the distance to the shore. They make progress for another hour. But from nowhere, they're gripped by a powerful undercurrent.
We're going backwards. What? We're going back. What do you mean?
It's a very strong current. It's a really strong current.
So far away.
Now we couldn't make any headway.
The tide has turned, and it's pulling them backwards.
Come on, Joe, come on!
We're trying frantically to row faster.
Come on, take it on.
Come on! Come on! It's not that far! No, we're not moving.
We are in some deep trouble.
As night falls, the men give in to their exhaustion. But as they sleep, they're being dragged back ever closer towards the rocky shores of the island.
Joe, Larry, despierten. Nos vamos contra la roca.
Joe! Joe, wake up! It rocks! Stop paddling, buddy! Come on now! Come on!
The current was gonna take us wherever it wanted. We're gonna crash, and we're gonna crash hard.
Joe and Pepe make it safely to shore. But Lorenzo is thrown violently onto the rocks, severely spraining both of his ankles. The 3 men's attempt to escape the island has failed, and their boat is now completely wrecked.
We didn't talk much that night. Lorenzo and I were pretty down in the dumps. We were depressed.
400 miles away, in California, Joe's wife receives a phone call.
That was when I learned that they were missing. I just was gone. I can't even describe it. It was like, you know, my feet were kicked out from me.
Joe and Lorenzo wake up, knowing they are completely stranded on the barren, uninhabited island.
There was nothing there, nothing that could give you shade. There was just nothing.
Their only hope now is to be found by a search party. But they are in no physical condition for a prolonged wait.
I was somewhat overweight, and I had found out about a year earlier that I was diabetic.
Joe suffers from type 2 diabetes, a condition where the normal levels of sugar in the blood can decrease rapidly. It's commonplace, but potentially life-threatening if not managed properly. And 50-year-old Lorenzo is unfit and grossly overweight.
Lorenzo may have had health issues. I pressed him on it, but he said no, that he didn't. But then at the same time, he told me that he hadn't been to a doctor for years.
As they face a third night out in the open, Pepe again insists that help is not coming.
He just kept saying that the only way that we're getting out of here is if we get ourselves out of here.
He says they ain't coming.
And as the night wears on, Joe and Lorenzo finally accept they are now totally on their own.
I felt that the world had abandoned us.
After 2 days of waiting for rescue, the men must take their survival into their own hands and hike to the northern tip, where tourist boats will be moored. But it's a daunting journey.
This island's 20 by 40 miles. It's uninhabited. There's nobody there. Pepe told us that there probably is commercial fishermen or the tail end of the tourist boats at the northern end of the island. And if we get there, we will be picked up.
But the men have no idea how far down the coast they are. And they could face a 40-mile hike along the entire length of the island.
The coast, as I saw, was the only logical choice. Nobody is going to go inland to look for us.
Through the burning afternoon, the men pick their way over the broken rocks.
Come on, man. You're doing good. I know it hurts, man.
But the hike is taking a toll on Lorenzo's sprained ankles.
Lorenzo realized how hurt his feet were.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
But we couldn't stop. We had to keep going.
Since morning, they've shared some of their meager supplies, dried fruit and a few sips of their remaining water. The lack of food is causing Joe's blood sugar level to plummet, bringing on the first symptoms of diabetes. Clumsiness, trembling, and a feeling of extreme weakness.
I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty.
Come on, man. We can make this. Come on. Okay. Keep going. Okay.
The men press on, but after just 3 miles, their plan hits trouble. Their route north has come to a dead end. They can go no further.
We're saying to ourselves, what the hell did we do now?
La corriente ahorita está pesada, pero con cuidado podemos cruzar. Yo salto primero para que vean cómo.
Pepe said, you know what? I'm gonna swim across. Between the current and rocks, I didn't think he had much of a chance to make it.
The men know that beneath the surface, powerful currents are ripping through this ocean inlet. But Pepe makes it across.
Wish me luck, buddy.
But seriously overweight Lorenzo has 2 sprained ankles and quickly starts to struggle.
It's a really strong current. The water surge got him and started taking him under.
Joe! I did it! No!
Now it's Joe's turn.
I know I'm not a strong swimmer.
Joe, jump!
But he's paralyzed with fear.
Joey!
The hell with it. I'm not doing this.
After a day's hiking, with little food, Joe's blood sugar level is crashing, bringing on extreme confusion.
Come on, Joe! Stay here! Joe!
I just said, you guys go ahead, go on. I'm just gonna die here.
I can't do it! Joe! What's the matter with you?
It was terrifying because I was afraid of getting pounded on the rocks.
You get over here! Jump now! Joe!
Lorenzo encouraged me the way that we always talk, challenging each other,
Jump, jump, jump for me! Gotta stay here.
daring each other to do something.
Joe!
And Lorenzo said, don't be a sissy.
Jump now!
And I just thought to myself, what, you know, if you're gonna die, die trying.
Yes, Joe! Yes! Come on, buddy! Come on, Joe! Joe, come on, buddy! Joe!
I was a sissy for nothing.
How far do you think we got today, Larry?
A 4th night brings respite from the heat. But now totally out of food, and having finished their last bottle of water, the situation is becoming desperate. And their thoughts turn to their families back home.
I had my wife and my kids and a new grandchild to get back to. Lorenzo had his wife, his dad, his sisters.
In California, Joe's wife is already beginning to fear the worst.
It's hard to explain, but it was almost I lost half of me and my heart had been completely ripped right out of my chest.
In desperation, she sends her son down to Mexico to join the search party.
I wanted my son to go find out what happened to his dad.
As yet another day dawns, the men face the blistering heat with no water. Only fishing boats to the north can save them.
We have to do whatever it takes to get to the northern end of the island.
But they have no idea how much more of the coast they must navigate to get there. And Lorenzo is finding the pain of his sprained ankles unbearable.
Come on. You're gonna get there, man. Get you a nice big deal.
Joe! Ow!
I can't. Don't, please don't touch me. I can't do this anymore.
He finally just said, "No, I can't do this."
No!
I can't go any further. I can't do this.
Lorenzo was very upset.
I can't go any further.
He felt that he let us down.
Joe, lo tenemos que cargar. Si nos quedamos aquí, nos morimos.
Momento.
We realized that Lorenzo's mobility is pretty much down to zero. But we somehow needed to keep moving.
I can't walk.
We'll get you out of here, Larry.
Joe knows they must find a way to transport crippled Lorenzo. But all they have to work with is the junk washed up on the shore.
Pepe! Voy a hacer una lanza! Esta vez!
Pepe had an idea about building a raft. He said, we'll be able to float Lorenzo through the water. We found some floats from old fishing nets.
Duro, Joe. ¿Más apretado? Ya. Duro. Órale.
It's ready, Larry?
We wanted him to not have to put any pressure on his feet, and it worked.
Come on, guys, we can do this.
Try to put your weight over to your right.
Okay, I got it.
Lorenzo didn't say anything, but I know in his heart that he was grateful.
The men struggle along the scorched coastline. But 5 days of exposure to the relentless sun are putting huge pressure on Lorenzo's grossly overweight body. And his heart strains to keep him cool. Joe is fighting the effects of his diabetes. And having not drunk anything for 18 hours, his craving for water is becoming too much to bear.
This can't go on. We can't do this.
I gotta get off.
In desperation, Pepe returns to the trash washed up on the shoreline.
I said, look what I found in this blackish looking water. What the hell's that? The only water that was available on that island was from castaway bottles. Once you get thirsty enough, it didn't matter that that water stunk. It still tasted good. It was water.
But in these extreme conditions, a few mouthfuls a day is barely enough to keep them alive. Without enough fluid, their bodies are at serious risk of overheating. And floating above the cooling effects of the sea, Lorenzo is especially vulnerable. After another whole day battling through the water, there's still no sign of the fishing boats that will end their ordeal. Then, Pepe spots something among the rocks. This could be the sign of life they've been looking for.
The first thing that went through my mind was, I'm out of here. But then I see my tackle box from the first day.
The men realize it's their own fishing tackle. They're back at the camp where they first beached 4 days ago.
Our hearts just sank. We're back to the starting point. And now we're exhausted, we're out of food, we're out of water. Now we got nothing.
As the day turns into yet another night, Lorenzo's morale plunges even further.
I think it took a toll on Lorenzo. It started getting negative.
It's all right, Larry. We ain't gonna let this thing beat us.
Joe brought Lorenzo on this trip to share his taste for adventure. But now, he can see his friend is starting to crack.
We are gonna see our families again. You and me, I am gonna look after you, Larry.
And I told Lorenzo, we're not dying here. We're getting out of this. We're going home. It's just time. Just hang in there.
The three men have managed to keep themselves going for 8 days. But in scorching temperatures, and with no food and hardly any water, injured Lorenzo is weakening by the hour.
Staying on like that?
Yeah. I saw him as my friend who needed my help. That's it. We would go in the water about 6:30 in the morning and start moving north. It was very slow progress. Sometimes we wouldn't go more than a mile or two in a day. Around 1 or 2, we would start looking for a place where we could spend the night.
It's an excruciating routine, made even harder by the fact that their scavenged water supply is running out.
Those castaway bottles kept us alive. But as the days went on, we were finding less and less water.
Water!
We found maybe 6 ounces a day, maybe, that we would have to split 3 ways.
Salt.
When their precious few drops of water finally run out, they know they won't survive in this heat for much longer. Their hike north is now a race against time.
I never really thought survival was as difficult as it is.
After a week stumbling through the water, Joe has deep cuts in his legs. They're becoming infected, and blood poisoning is now a real threat. If it sets in, it could kill him within hours.
This could be a lost cause. I could die here. And I told him, look, I'm gonna write a letter to my wife and my kids in case something happens to me. I love you all. Don't blame anybody of what happened to me. I put myself in the situation and I died here, but it's just something that happened.
Joe asks Lorenzo if he too wants to write a message to his loved ones.
Hey, Larry. No. I don't want to do that right now.
And he said, no, I don't want to do that. Not yet. I don't want to be doing this. Maybe he didn't want to really face a situation we're in or what the outcome might be.
Ravenously hungry, the three men are desperate for anything to eat. Joe resorts to pulling tiny sea snails from the rocks.
I gave one to Lorenzo. I go, here, eat it. And he looked at it and said, I'm not going to eat that. I knew that he had to have something, but at the same time, I can't force it down his throat. He'd have to eat it because he wanted to.
When the sun is gone, the temperature plummets. So far, they've kept warm with driftwood fires. But now, disaster strikes.
What happened? It broke.
The lyre it just fell apart in his hands. The salt water had just eaten it.
From now on, the men have only each other to keep warm. With death closing in, the men are unaware their families have been searching for them. But they've joined the rescue teams that believe the men are fishing on the east side of the island. After 6 days searching, Joe's son calls home with devastating news.
He says, I can't find him. He's not there, Mom. I don't know if we'll ever find him. And he was heartbroken.
After 8 days missing, the search is finally abandoned. The men are feared lost at sea.
I had given up hope. The reality of it was he was dead and wasn't coming back.
The men struggle on northwards. But still, there's no sign of any fishing boats. Lorenzo is becoming increasingly depressed and irrational.
Stop! We gotta go back. I lost my glasses. We gotta go back. I want my glasses.
Things are gonna be okay.
He just totally panicked. He lost it.
They're my glasses. I need my glasses. You got me. I need my glasses. I need my glasses.
I'm trying to convince him, okay, look, now I'll be your eyes. But there's no consoling him. For him, it was the end of the world.
What?
Lorenzo was starting to lose touch with reality.
Joe. Let's switch.
Lorenzo asked me if he could be on back of the raft. He wanted to trade places with me.
I want to go behind for a while, okay?
Delirious with dehydration, Joe takes up his friend's offer of a ride, without realizing how desperate Lorenzo's condition has become.
I heard a gurgling noise behind me.
Larry! Larry!
And I turned around,
Larry!
and his head is underwater.
Larry! What are you doing? Larry! Larry!
I told Pepe, he's in trouble. We must get him out of the water.
Ayúdame, Joe. Joe, ayúdame. Joe, agárrale los brazos.
Larry! Larry! Get him up! Larry!
Larry, está bien.
I'm talking to him, and there's no response.
Larry!
Larry.
The look on his face it wasn't right.
Larry!
I start checking for a pulse. I checked his neck, his wrist. It was just nothing.
After 12 days, battling to stay alive, Lorenzo has finally succumbed.
I told Pepe he's dead. He passed away. He just died, and I couldn't do anything. That's probably the worst moment of my life. At first, I was angry that he abandoned me. We should be seeing this through the end. But then I realized it was a big ordeal for him. And his body just gave out.
Joe decides to leave his best friend's body on the beach, in full view of the ocean and any passing boat.
I want him found. I want his body found, even if it's just skeleton. I want him to be found, be taken home.
I'm gonna come back for you.
I said my goodbyes to him, and I told him that I have to leave. It broke my heart.
Joe and Pepe struggle to keep moving north, barely clinging to life with every step.
We were living moment by moment. It was no longer, can I do the 10 more feet? It was right now, can I take another step?
Battling his diabetes, it's a miracle that Joe has survived 13 days without food or proper water. But now he fears the end is near, and he faces an agonizing, anonymous death.
If I die, nobody is ever gonna find my bones. I was at rock bottom. Pepe turns around and yells at me, "Did you see that boat?" He was very excited. I didn't think there was a boat. I thought he was hallucinating. All of a sudden, I'm alone.
Joe and Pepe are finally saved by two Mexican fishermen.
It was exhilarating to see this boat. Thank God this is over. I was relieved, like a big burden had been lifted off my shoulder.
That afternoon, Joe's wife, Margaret, gets a call from her son.
He says, they found Dad. He walked out this morning. The fisherman picked him up. He's okay. I mean, I was elated, but at the same time, I just knew that there was more wrong. He told me that Lorenzo has passed away. And I says, oh my God.
Seeing my wife, my son, my daughter, all of them, it was great. I just felt bad that Lorenzo wasn't there to share it.
Lorenzo's body was recovered and taken back to his wife and family in the US.
If Lorenzo had gone one more day, he would have been with us. He'd be here now.
When Benedict Allen and his dog Cashew set out on the adventure of a lifetime, his childhood dream soon becomes a battle to survive.
Suddenly I found the situation out of control. Wham! I was having to fight for my life.
Stranded and alone, he must fight his way through 100 miles of the most inhospitable jungle on Earth.
This place seemed intent on killing me.
He must face nature's most deadly predators.
Terrifying, waiting for something that was going to spring out at me.
And endure the madness induced by the forest.
This was a dream that I'd followed very selfishly, and now it was going to be the death of me. "22-year-old Benedict Allen has always been a dreamer, and he's living his biggest dream yet. He's following in his father's footsteps and becoming an adventurer. My dad was a test pilot, and it was very exciting having this glamorous father. He used to fly these planes over the house.
And I just assumed that one day I'd be an adventurer of some sort, just like my dad. I just want to be like one of those great explorers like Cook or H.M. Stanley or Livingstone.
And for his first expedition, Benedict has come to the greatest wilderness on Earth, the mighty Amazon rainforest.
As a child, I read in my books about El Dorado, which was this mythical land of gold. But no one found El Dorado, and I thought one day that would be my destiny.
His companion for this epic journey is a stray dog he's befriended along the way.
I was lonely, and that dog reminded me of my dogs at home. And I called him Cashew, which was Indian for dog. So he was simply dog to me. But he began to be more than a dog, he began to be my friend.
Despite his youthful enthusiasm, this is Benedict's first major adventure. He's attempting to traverse over 1,000 miles of dense, uncharted rainforest. So he's relying heavily on 2 local guides to help him survive.
They taught me how to feel comfortable in the forest, which to me was a confusing place. They began to show me what I could eat and what I had to avoid, how to hunt. I was utterly dependent on these 2 men and their extraordinary library of knowledge, because I knew nothing, absolutely nothing.
For 3 months, they head deeper into the vast rainforest and are nearing the supposed location of El Dorado, the city of gold. But Benedict has been warned of the dangerous illegal miners that have been drawn here. And there are troubling indications that they are not alone.
Signs were ominous from the beginning. The water, just empty cachaça bottles. Cachaça's a sort of cheap rum. There was a sense that there were outsiders in the forest. I'd been warned that these were bank robbers, thieves, people accused of murder. They'd all headed off into the forest because here was a chance of making a quick buck.
Despite Benedict's trepidation, they must find a place to camp, as night is falling.
We went off through the trees, and suddenly we stumbled across this small settlement. But whereas I was worried, my 2 Indian guides were absolutely entranced. I remember one of the Indian guides picking up a can opener and wondering what that was. Suddenly, this character, Mendez, arrived. He was the classic gold miner. And I just felt I've got to get out of here.
¿Qué estás haciendo aquí, entonces?
Estamos buscando El Dorado.
¿El Dorado?
Estamos viajando al sur por la boca del Amazon.
No, mi amigo. Si viajas para allá, muy peligroso. Los rápidos están lucidos, pero puede ayudarte.
Mendez said to me, look, I'll be your guide. I'll take you down the river towards El Dorado. Furthermore, I know a track. You'll be able to walk from the river to the outside world.
¿Está bien? Divertimos.
And I thought, well, maybe I've misjudged this gold miner. Maybe he isn't that bad. But I thought I should go along with this plan. I'll be heading in the right direction at least.
Bien.
Benedict reluctantly agrees to the offer and settles down for the night. But as the night wears on, he has a growing sense that all is not what it seems.
That night, I woke up in my hammock feeling that something was wrong. Just an uneasy feeling, and I remember thinking, I've got to check on things. So I put on my boots, potted down to the river to see if my canoe was still there, see my supplies were there. I think effectively I was making sure that my exit was okay. And I heard this conversation going on between Eduardo and Mendez, and they were discussing me. They were saying, why don't we go and slit his throat right now?
Porque no rajamas la garganta ahora.
Los indios que tendrán problemas si lo matamos.
No. A ellos le dan igual.
I had a rising sense of fear, and adrenaline began thumping in my ears.
Venga, lo haceros ahora.
¿Quién va a ser?
No lo haré cuando está durmiendo.
And I realized I'm just going to be killed. These are my last moments alive. I just thought, go, I have to run, get out of here. Gathered my hammock together, my mosquito net, ran to the canoe. And suddenly, I was in the darkness in my canoe with my dog.
And with his loyal friend Cashew, Benedict makes it away from danger.
My first thought was relief. Then I had this terrible, dawning realization that I wasn't safe at all. I was surrounded by forest. It was the middle of the night, and I was very, very alone.
Without his guides, Benedict is now stranded in over 2 million square miles of rainforest, with no one to show him the route out.
I really was not at the end of a nightmare, but at the beginning of one.
Cashew. Let's get out of here, boy.
I paddled upriver for maybe an hour, and I thought, I'll just calm down, I'll just pull into the side. Made a little camp and thought, I've got to come to terms with this new situation. And the situation was, my childhood dreams were over. And I felt, I've got to get out of here, got to get out of here. And there was blood pounding through my head. I did not know what was out there in the forest. And I didn't know myself, really. I didn't know whether I had it in me to survive. As the first light came up, I could see this forest, absolutely immense, and there I was in the middle of it, absolutely alone. It was terrifying that first morning. But after a little while, I thought, no, come on, pull yourself together. It's the first day. So I began looking at my supplies, trying to work out whether I had enough to get me out of the forest.
Good boy.
And by Benedict's estimations, he has enough rice, sugar, and dried meat to last him approximately 2 weeks. And he has a mosquito net, a machete, and a survival kit. All the basics he needs to stay alive.
If I wanted to see my mum and dad again, I was going to have to take a chance on finding a trail out of the forest, and that's the option that seemed to be the only sensible one.
But Benedict knows that searching for a route out of the forest means heading off into completely uncharted waters.
I was actually going into the interior. I was heading upriver. So for the moment, until I found that trail, I was heading into oblivion. As I paddled away upstream, I was feeling more and more hopeful. Then, suddenly, there were rapids. And I remember thinking, come on, Benedict, pull yourself together. You've got to get out of here. Spent a lot of time dragging the canoe through the rapids. It was immensely hard work. It just seemed relentless that I was just fighting all the time this river.
After 3 days on the river, fighting countless sets of rapids, the harsh reality is sinking in for Benedict. He's heading deeper and deeper into the forest, and there is still no sign of the trail.
By the third day, all my early enthusiasm had drained away. I kept on thinking, how many rapids are there? They weren't marked on any map. It just seemed relentless. Physically, I felt a wreck. My hands were in ribbons and blisters all over the place, burns from this rope. The big question mark was how long I could keep on going, and it wasn't that I was running out of food, I was just running out of belief in myself.
By mid-afternoon, it seems Benedict and Cashew have cleared the worst of the rapids. They can now continue to search for a way out of the forest.
I remember starting to paddle my way into the clear water, but I hadn't quite got far enough. Suddenly I found the situation out of control. I started going backwards. It became absolutely terrifying. I realized that I was fighting for my survival. I had to keep this canoe upright. But then, wham! The canoe shattered with the impact. Everything now ended up in the water. The dog, the supplies, and me. It was a moment of absolute terror as I realized not only was I losing my possessions, but actually I was having to fight for my life. I was gagging on the water, trying to get my breath. Finally got some purchase and waded my way towards the riverbank. I remember just trying to take in the situation, and the situation was that I'd lost virtually everything I needed in order to survive, and lost my companionship, Cashew, the dog. Yeah, it was a sad moment just because he was my friend, my companionship. He was everything to me.
And as Benedict sits on the riverbank, he realizes that along with Cashew, his hopes of survival are slowly drifting away.
First thing that struck me was I didn't have any food. Then I realized I didn't have a hammock, didn't have my mosquito net. There were so many worries going through my head. Would I end up starving to death? Would I die slowly of malaria? It was difficult to imagine how I was going to end up, but whatever way, it didn't look likely that I'd ever see my family again.
Benedict knows that no one will be looking for him, because his expedition is not due to finish for at least 3 months. And with no food or medical supplies, he'll be lucky to survive a week.
The situation was beautifully clear in a way. If I stayed where I was, I thought I would just die. I thought I've just got to get out of this place. I thought, what have I got to get me out of the forest? There was an old rucksack. There was a water bottle, a machete, but above all, my survival kit. Fishing hooks, fishing line, distress flares, spare compass. So key, simple things. I got out my little notebook and I made a little map. Anything I can remember, I put onto this map.
Benedict realizes that the river is no longer a viable route, and the only possible way out is to walk directly into the jungle and attempt to hike out on foot.
So I drew a little dotted line, and that would be my route out of the forest. And it was a huge, huge moment as I walked away from the sunlight into the unknown.
And Benedict heads into one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, the Amazon rainforest.
The forest that I saw seemed a very different forest from one I'd remembered. Very, very thick, difficult to get through. And so I thought, I've got to keep absolutely clear about what I'm meant to be doing.
Benedict realizes that traversing this jungle will be a monumental task, so he'll have to use every last scrap of experience he has, if he is to make it through here alive.
And I reckon I walked absolutely straight, maybe 100 miles. That would take me to the outside world. So I thought, I'm going to count every single pace. When I got to 100 paces, I made a little notch in a stick. And that way, I'd know that I was nearer help.
For hours, Benedict fights his way through the jungle. But as night falls, he can go no further. And when the sun goes down, the searing temperatures plummet. So he makes a shelter, using a technique he learned from his guides.
Oh, it doesn't look too bad, really. I felt a little bit of pride. And then lay down and realised that I was wet. There's more dampness coming up from the ground. I lay there, sweating away, and then felt incredibly cold.
The brutal reality is that Benedict isn't prepared for this at all. In the 100% humidity, he has no way of keeping dry or warm, and with his mosquito net gone, no way to protect himself against the deadly disease he fears the most, malaria.
Then the insects started moving in, and a long night began. I was feeling absolutely terrible, wrung out, because I'd been awake all night with the insects. And I had to light a fire and dry out my clothes just to fend off this clawing wetness which wore you down. I felt very burdened by the forest. I just thought, I've got to get out. I've got to get out of this place.
Benedict resumes his hike towards the outside world, but so far has only managed 4 of the 100 miles he has to traverse. It's been 4 days since he last ate, and he's beginning to weaken.
I was starting to feel hunger pains. And I knew that unless I sorted out some sort of way of getting food, I was just going to die of starvation. I started to think how I could get nourishment from this place that seemed intent on killing me. So I thought, okay, I've got to settle myself down and build a few traps.
And Benedict knows that if you want to trap an animal, you have to find its trail.
You make 2 parallel lines of sticks that you jab into the forest floor, and you funnel the mouse along. And there's a little bit of bait that you put at the end, and it triggers a mechanism, and boom, a log comes down and flattens the mouse, and you get this flat rodent for your supper. It's so time-consuming to even fashion these things, but waiting for an animal to come along, I found absolutely exasperating. I thought, I'm totally incompetent here. I don't belong in the forest, and furthermore, the forest seems to know it. It's almost like I'd been found out. Every species here has learned to survive, and those that aren't good enough die. And I'm going to be next, because I don't know how to cope here. I can't even make a simple trap. I began to dread every evening. It was a question of trying to light fires, then I had to find water to boil so I could drink it. And all of this was taking time when I was already exhausted from trying to make progress through the forest. I used to dread the loneliness of night and wish for the morning again, but in the morning, no relief. I felt like a hamster on a treadmill heading to nowhere.
Benedict has managed to fight his way through 25 miles of jungle a mere quarter of the distance he believes he needs to travel to reach the outside world. The only food he's eaten are the tips of ferns, but it's not enough, and he's beginning to experience the first effects of starvation.
My hunger was really bad. I felt weak. I was doing less and less miles every day and feeling more and more confused.
And weakened by hunger, his body is becoming too frail to withstand the jungle's constant onslaught.
Insects were more of a problem, and so were the bites. Some of them were starting to fester and weep. All of this was sort of visible evidence that I was being attacked. And suddenly, there was a palm tree. It was a Marija palm. And I remembered how my guides had taken the berries and they'd made a wonderful purple mush. Suddenly I had all the energy in the world because I saw hope now. I drank down this wonderful, nutritious liquid. God, it felt so good to have my stomach full.
Benedict is so weak that his stomach is unable to digest this rich berry pulp. And as starvation takes a stranglehold, his body is beginning to break down.
It was a terrible situation because on the one hand, I could eat, but if I did eat, I'd feel more sick. It didn't seem to be solving any problem, and it was a sort of hellish situation.
Despite his sickness, Benedict pushes onwards, but he's getting weaker by the hour, and it's not just the result of malnutrition.
Gradually, I realized I was succumbing to something. Sweat was becoming more and more obvious to me. Looking at my hand, I'd see it shaking and shaking. I was sinking into a delusional state because I wasn't able to control my thoughts.
After almost 2 weeks of relentless attack, Benedict has finally succumbed to his biggest fear.
I thought, this is the taste of malaria that I'd always been warned about. And now it's my turn to experience it myself as someone who was exhausted and starting to starve to death.
The malarial parasites are destroying Benedict's red blood cells, starving his body and brain of oxygen. And knowing he faces almost certain death in the forest, his thoughts turn to his family, over 5,000 miles away.
It was a sort of sadness at first, feeling of terrible defeat. I thought no one's going to be able to imagine what my last days were like. I had a feeling also of disappointment. I'd beat my mum and dad. But the truth was, this was a dream that I'd followed very selfishly. And now it was going to be the death of me. As the fever began to kick in, my progress became even slower, and it was becoming a fight just to put one foot in front of the other. And my hope of getting beyond the trees was fading away. Suddenly, I had this feeling that there was something out there, as if something was stalking me. And I thought, come on, Benedict, keep control, you're losing it, you're losing it. Suddenly, I heard this rustle, and my worst fear was that it was a jaguar. And it was terrifying, waiting for something that was going to spring out at me.
Come on! Yeah!
I fired off a couple of distress flares. Bang, bang.
Come on! Yeah!
And nothing. And then I heard a whimpering sound.
Well done.
Incredibly, after vanishing in the rapids 2 weeks before, Cashew has tracked his old friend through 40 miles of rainforest. And all at once, the horrors of his situation seem to drift away.
It suddenly felt like I'd been given a miracle, a sign of hope that everything was going to be okay again. I had someone who could understand what I was going through. That restored a lot of myself somehow that I'd lost, that had been taken away by the brutality of the forest.
Cashew's reappearance has lifted Benedict's spirits and reinvigorated his determination to get home. But he's desperately malnourished, fighting a killer disease, and rapidly running out of time.
Now, I was 3 weeks into this trek, 3 weeks of really hardly eating anything.
After walking for 70 miles, Benedict is now in the advanced stages of starvation, and the malarial parasites are rapidly colonizing and destroying his body. He knows that his condition is reaching critical.
And I was so aware that I was running out of time. Cashew seemed to be lagging more and more behind. And I thought, I can't have you as a passenger.
Cashew! 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 Shoot!
I began to think, hold on, there's all this flesh on you. But it was inconceivable that he could ever be my food.
Cashew!
As the day wore on, I began pining for water, and I realized I wasn't just starving, I was dehydrated.
Benedict's life is now hanging in the balance. The combined effects of starvation and malaria mean that he must take on more and more fluid, but it's becoming ever harder to find. And whereas a normal person can last 3 days without water, in his condition, he won't last 24 hours.
I was desperately licking leaves, I was licking stones just to get a bit of water into my system, just to sustain myself. I found myself side by side with the dog, actually lapping water like a dog. I thought the animal in me is coming out in order to persevere.
I'm coming like you, Cashew.
I was in a desperate state. By now, it was almost impossible just to keep on walking. It was a real crisis point. Mentally, I had less of a grip on what was going on. Where I was, whether it was day or night, what was happening, what was in my imagination. It was very, very clear that I had less and less sense of who I was.
By now, Benedict is so emaciated, and the malaria is so advanced, his brain is beginning to shut down. And as his clarity and sense of self dissolves, he knows that his death is creeping ever closer.
I was in blind terror, really, that these were my last sane hours. I write repeatedly, no need to die, no need to die, no need to die.
And Benedict realizes that unless he eats immediately, this could very well be his last day alive.
One way or another, the moment came when I just thought, this is it, this is the day. The day when I can actually gather myself together, pick up my machete and kill the dog.
Without the nutrition that Cashew will provide, Benedict is a dead man. He now has no choice but to kill his only friend.
It felt like I was an executioner at this stage, but I remember this terrible cowardness of walking up behind it, knowing I couldn't actually face killing the dog in front. I struck it a blow on the head from behind. Suddenly, there was a way out of this hell. For now, I'd concentrate on the most nutritious parts, the kidneys, the liver, heart, and I put them on the fire. I just sort of quietly ate them, and rather sorrowfully, actually.
But Benedict cannot ingest the meat. The malaria is making his stomach reject anything he forces into it. And the realization dawns. He's just used his last chance.
When I thought it couldn't get any worse. It did get worse. I lay on the forest floor, racked by pain. My liver, my kidneys were being attacked. I was fighting just to keep myself sane.
Benedict's malaria has now reached the final and fatal stage. The parasites are aggressively multiplying and destroying his vital organs, causing his body to collapse. Within 24 hours, he will experience first coma, then death.
This was the moment when it could all end very, very quickly. I had this rising sense of panic that I had to get out of the forest. I had to do whatever it took. Whatever happened, I had to keep moving. Keep on putting one foot in front of the other. I kept on going, making pitiful progress, and sometimes no progress at all. Couldn't even think straight. I couldn't even see my compass. At that moment, I suddenly thought, well, I'm just never going to get out of here. It was just too big to fight, and I was losing that fight.
Benedict simply cannot go on. He's just too weak, too ravaged by disease.
It was a terribly lonely moment, thinking this is the end. And suddenly, amongst all this despair, this confusion, this feeling of being trapped in this prison, a sight that will always stay with me. I saw this cut branch. The cut itself was blackened, so it had been cut some time ago, but had been cut by a human. And I realised there was actually quite a few of these branches. This was actually the edge of the outside world. I started investigating, and there was a trail. And then extraordinary thing of just seeing daylight, and it's still emotional to me, just this reconnection with the outside world. Thing I've been looking forward to, praying for, imagining, was suddenly there, and it was absolutely overwhelming. And I found myself in the back of a garden. There, ahead of me, was a little hut, and there was a little man in front. And he was just standing there with a look, not of welcome, but of horror. And that was my last memory.
Having recognized the symptoms of malaria, the farmer nursed Benedict for 3 days before he was driven to a hospital in Macapá, where he made a full recovery. Benedict returned home to be reunited with his parents 1 week later.
My life was never the same again.
And Benedict has been exploring the world ever since, fulfilling his dreams of becoming a renowned adventurer, just like his father.
I've been going off to the jungle, going off to the desert, going off to the Arctic, pushing myself to the limit, trying to touch that experience that I had that was so profound. That has always haunted me, and it's something that'll always be with me, and it's steered the rest of my life.
When Steve Callahan's boat sinks in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, he's stranded in a tiny life raft thousands of miles from land.
You're gonna die all alone in the middle of the ocean. I've no hope anymore.
For an incredible 76 days, he battles the sea.
Whether the shark eats me or not, I'm done.
Extreme hunger.
Your body starts eating its own muscle.
And his own mind.
Psychologically, mentally, I was just done.
In an epic fight to stay alive.
I just felt like I was totally doomed.
Over here! Help!
29-year-old Bostonian Steve Callahan is halfway through the sailing trip of a lifetime.
I remember the first time I went out sailing. I love the immediacy of it. You can go off and have an adventure.
He's already sailed from the USA to the Canary Islands and is now heading off on the 3,500-mile return leg, back across the Atlantic to the Caribbean.
Testing?
I figured on the very outside it would be a month to get to the Caribbean, but I'd probably make it in a few weeks.
For Steve, the trip is an adventure and also a means of escape.
My life was in a bit of a shambles. My marriage had gone south and we had split up. There I was, ready for a new stage of my life.
Steve is hoping that isolation on the open seas in his self-built boat will help him leave a difficult year behind.
I was really on my own out there, which was fine. I didn't need people. I didn't really need the society so much. I pictured myself more as like a sea creature.
In Steve's first week at sea, weather conditions could hardly be better.
When I left the Canary Islands for a week, I had just the most idyllic sail. Everything was just beautiful, and I'd listen to my radio and play the boat like a drum. Do my exercise. I had this whole exercise routine on the boat. It just felt completely at home there.
But 800 miles and 1 week out into the mid-Atlantic, the weather begins to change.
The weather just started turning dirty. was probably blowing 35 or so knots. And the waves started growing.
For an experienced sailor like Steve, it's nothing out of the ordinary.
I'd seen a lot worse weather before. And so I figured, well, it'll probably be a day or two and this will scoot by. I wasn't worried. Everything was fine.
As night falls and the rough weather continues, Steve switches on the autopilot and beds down for the night.
People think that sailing is a very quiet undertaking. It's not. Big waves are slamming against the side of the boat. You get this quite jerky motion, but I was still able to kind of lie down, and I was kind of half asleep. All of a sudden, there was this big bang on the side of the boat. There was just this huge flood of water immediately.
Steve has no idea what he's hit, but the boat's hull has been torn apart.
The water was rising very, very quickly.
Within seconds, the water is above his head.
I just thought, this boat is going to be underwater. I'm going right to the bottom.
Steve's boat is sinking. He knows he has seconds to get to the life raft up on deck.
So I yank on the line, and if the line keeps coming out, no, nothing. It just didn't work at all. Finally, boom, it pops open.
Steve makes it to safety. But just as he's about to cut himself loose, a terrifying thought hits him.
With the equipment that's in the raft, I will not last very long at all.
Everything he needs to have any chance of survival is stowed deep inside the flooded boat.
It was essential that I go back on the boat and dive down and get equipment. Even though I realized that the boat could slip under the waves at any moment.
Against every instinct, he knows he has no option but to dive back down into the sinking boat.
It was all dark in there, so I couldn't really see anything. I could feel the ditch kit. It was tied down, and I started cutting away.
Steve frees his emergency supply kit. But just as he makes it to the exit hatch,
the hatch slammed closed. The boat's covered with water. I'm going down. I thought that was it. If I don't get out of here right now, I am going to die. There's 100% certainty of that.
But just as Steve's lungs are about to burst,
a huge wave breaks across the boat.
All of a sudden, there's air. It was a huge, huge relief.
With only seconds to spare, Steve escapes, clutching his vital emergency supplies.
I jumped into the raft and I saw that I was drifting away from the boat.
Steve can only watch as he drifts away from not just his boat, but also his dream.
I went drifting off into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It just was kind of devastating. That first night, it blew hard, really cold and really wet and really scary. I was shivering a lot and I was worried about dying of hypothermia. I might not make it till the morning.
Dawn breaks to reveal the true horror of Steve's situation. His boat is gone, and he is alone in the middle of the Atlantic.
I'm a long way away from anybody, and I'm in a very empty part of the ocean as well. I am just this teeny, teeny little thing surrounded by this immensity of sea. It was kind of overpowering.
Steve has no means of communication and knows that no one will be looking for him.
I told people at home, I gave them 5 or 6 weeks after I left the Canary Islands as being, don't worry about me if I don't show up this time.
Steve calculates he's 1,000 miles from land and completely at the mercy of wind and currents as they push him further westwards, out into the ocean.
I was in a place where there was basically no shipping, and I really needed to get to the shipping lanes to have any chance of being picked up at all.
Steve estimates that the shipping lanes are 350 miles further west. But even if the winds still push him in the same direction, it will take him at least 2 weeks to get there. And he only has a tiny supply of emergency drinking water.
I was worried. I had 8 pints of water, which theoretically was good enough for maybe 8 days.
Without enough water, he has almost no chance of making the shipping lanes alive.
It's a great irony that the world's biggest desert actually is the ocean. You can't drink any of the water there. There's no shade, and my chances of survival were almost hopeless.
Along with a harpoon and a few other supplies he rescued from his boat, Steve discovers 3 emergency water purification kits, known as solar stills.
The solar stills that I had were created during the Second World War for downed pilots. I never knew anybody who'd actually used them before. I've got 8 pints of water. It's over 2 weeks before I reach the shipping lane. So the solar stills were absolutely critical to any long-term survival.
Steve fills the still with seawater, knowing that the heat of the sun should separate the salt from the water.
I'd have, half hour, I've got a whole bag of water. I kept trying them again and again and again.
Steve cannot figure out how the solar stills work.
It's seawater. It was just seawater. It just didn't work at all.
And now he faces his first full night adrift in the ocean.
I was desperately lonesome, and there was no part of this that was not kind of a hellish experience.
Steve knows that it's essential he solves his drinking water problem, and the storm gives him an idea.
I knew that most survivors had relied on collecting rainwater.
If Steve can use the raft's canopy to collect rainwater, he may have hit upon an answer.
It was pretty much like drinking somebody's vomit. It was just so awful, it was undrinkable.
The orange pigment from the canopy contaminates the water.
I decided I'm never going to drink the water off the canopy. It was just too dangerous.
Steve's quest to find solace out at sea has resulted in horrific isolation, and he can see no way out of his ordeal.
I wrote my own epitaph that day. My name is Stephen Callahan. I was shipwrecked at approximately this position. I am drifting in a 6-man raft. I'm doomed. I just felt like I was totally doomed.
The currents are pushing Steve westwards, towards the shipping lanes, his only chance of rescue. But he's over 2 weeks away, with only enough water to last him a few days.
It wasn't going to keep me alive very long. You know, I'm taking a little sip every now and then, hardly even swallowing it, really. It's just being more absorbed. I'm getting really thirsty.
Steve ekes out his supplies for a whole week, but knows his only hope are the solar stills. But first he must understand what he's doing wrong.
It was critical to figure out how to use these things. Just like go back just from square one and try to figure out how does this thing actually work.
It's a drastic step, but he decides to rip one of his 3 precious stills apart, in the hope that he can work out how to make them produce fresh water.
Right.
And then it finally dawned on me, it had to be inflated just the right amount. Get the solar still to produce, I'm talking a spoonful of fresh water was like the hugest high I could possibly have.
Steve now has a tiny supply of water. But after 7 days at sea, he faces yet another problem. He's run out of food.
I was really hungry, just like really struck me how desperate I had become. There's no way I'm gonna live out here.
But just as Steve is beginning to think that the ocean is bereft of life,
immediately my heart kind of jumped in my throat. There are fish here. I knew right away that if I'm fishing with a spear in an inflated raft, I'm taking a big chance here. I kept trying and nothing would work. I just couldn't spear one. It was very frustrating.
Steve spends the whole day trying to catch fish. But just as he thinks he may finally succeed, the firing mechanism on his spear gun breaks.
Now, I don't have a range of 6 feet, possibly. I have a range of about 18 inches. I was really hungry. It just really struck me how desperate I had become at that point.
For days, Steve continues to try and catch fish, but to no avail.
In the physical sense, it was incredibly depressing. In terms of what I'd felt like I had done with my life, it was depressing. It was the most hellish time in my life.
All Steve's attempts to catch fish have failed. But if he gives up, he'll die of starvation.
I knew that this was not going to be easy. The fish has got to be right under the spear tip.
Yes!
By day 14, I've caught my first fish and I've produced water. So now, as long as the raft stays in one piece and I keep my act together, I might be able to live out here indefinitely.
For the first time in 14 days, Steve has a sense of hope. But the vast and deadly ocean is not about to let him rest.
All of a sudden, flop, 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 flop against the bottom of the raft in the middle of the night. It was like, what's going on? Boom! The whole raft's lifted up, just punched off the surface of the ocean. Whoa, what the hell was that?
A massive shark is attacking Steve's life raft.
It was gonna rip apart the raft. And then I'd be left in the water and forget it. Whether the shark eats me or not, I'm done. I was so freaked out about it. I thought for sure that was going to be it. I was being attacked. This thing was really whacking away at the raft. Finally hit it a few times with a spear, and then it went away. there's a ship right there on the horizon right in front of me. And I thought, this is it.
I'm here!
After 15 days lost at sea, Steve has finally drifted into the shipping lanes.
Come here! Yeah! Come here!
And it's perfect conditions, you know, it's fairly calm out, completely black night, perfect for flares.
Help! Help!
It looks like the ship's coming for me. It keeps steaming towards me and steaming towards me, and I was convinced that it had seen me. And it was close enough I could smell the diesel in the air.
To Steve's utter elation, rescue has come at last.
Cheers!
And then just goes right by me. I'm sitting there rocking in its wake after it went by. I was most disappointed in myself because I knew that that was probably going to be the case with the ship. It's really, really hard to see something at sea, even if you know it's there and you're looking for it. So if you're not looking for it, it's really hard to be seen.
Steve is once again left alone in the ocean. But at least now, he has the real hope of being spotted by passing ships.
All the way around the clock, I would just give a really careful look all the way around the horizon. Every morning was a bit of hope, and then every afternoon was like the depths of fatigue and despair.
Over the next 10 days, Steve spots only a handful of ships. They all sail by.
I've seen ships, I've signaled them, nobody stops and picks me up.
Steve slowly begins to realize that the shipping lanes are just as empty as the rest of the ocean.
Having that whole fantasy blown to hell, basically, was definitively the hugest down.
After a month at sea, Steve has drifted right through the shipping lanes, unnoticed. And back home, nobody even knows he's missing.
So pulled with emotions. That was the first time I cried. And it was like, this is the state of my life. What are you doing out here? My life just seemed completely and utterly as open and empty as the ocean.
Steve has drifted an epic 700 miles, but now faces a devastating new reality. His next chance of rescue won't come until he reaches the Caribbean, another 1,000 miles away.
At first, I never thought I'd even reach the shipping lanes. So thinking about getting all the way to the islands, which was, way beyond the shipping lanes, was not even conceivable to me.
But if Steve is going to survive, he knows there's no time for self-pity.
I was discovering I was way more resilient than I ever thought I could be. I'm on my own. Nobody's going to pick me up. I've got to reach the islands now. Count on yourself. Count on keeping your boat together and keep your act together and continuing your voyage.
Steve is still averaging 25 miles a day. But checking his charts again, a terrible thought dawns on him. If he drifts any further north, he'll miss the Caribbean completely and be swept back into the mid-Atlantic.
I would have been in a voyage of indeterminate length, years possible. It'd be a total disaster.
But conditions aboard the raft are also placing Steve's survival in serious doubt.
The environment was just incredibly horrible. I could never stretch out straight in the raft, so I'd lie down kind of curled on my side, getting cramps in my legs, so I could sleep about an hour at a time. I started developing all these little saltwater sores. And you're sitting in a salt-encrusted environment, so you're having literally salt rubbed into the wounds 24/7.
Steve now drifts into tropical waters, and it's getting hotter. His body is desperate for more water than the 2 remaining solar stills can produce.
The dehydration is just agonizing. Dying to get a drop where, you know, I'm looking at the solar still and watching these drops come down in a spoonful of water. You know, if somebody come along and said, well, you got a choice, you can have this cup of water, but we have to take your hand for it, which do you want? I'd probably, honestly, I'd probably say, take the hand.
Steve is also increasingly ravaged with hunger.
I was starving all the time, and your body starts eating its own muscle. As a result, I was getting skinnier and more desperate. There's just this great emptiness that can never be filled up. I speared the Storado.
But just as he thinks he's landed a fish,
it went right through it, and the Dorado just busted the end of the spear off. And the Dorado just rolled over and ran along the bottom tubes. It was just like one of these, oh my God, moments. There was a horrible sound, and it was just like, all these bubbles coming out. The thing just deflated really, really quickly.
The impaled fish has punctured the life raft. Steve is now sinking into the ocean.
And I knew I was in serious, serious trouble. Pretty short order. The whole bottom tube was completely deflated. It ripped a hole about that long in the tube. I thought that I could go indefinitely as long as the raft was in one piece, and now the raft isn't in one piece anymore. Maybe this is going to be the end of the line.
With the crucial bottom ring of his raft damaged, it is now too unstable for Steve to fish or collect water.
It was like I was walking in rubber quicksand. Plus, it's not really drifting very fast with the wind. So I'm not going to make it if I don't find a solution. I kept getting a repair on there, and I wound stuff around it really tight, and I'd pump it up. I kept doing it again and again and again for days.
Please.
It was really very depressing. because I just didn't think that I could fix it.
Steve knows the punctured raft is a disaster. He's going slower, wasting precious calories pumping it up, and now faces an even bigger problem.
I started consuming both water and the fish that was hanging to dry. I was unable to renew that stock while the bottom was deflated. I imagine it wouldn't have been a whole lot longer before I would have died.
For 10 days, Steve exhausts himself trying to keep the raft inflated, but fails. After battling to stay alive for so long, it's the final straw.
I was absolutely beat. That was it. I gave up. I just laid down. I was like, I just totally broke down. You're gonna die all alone in the middle of the ocean. You've never done anything successful in your life. I only had failed marriage, failed relationships. I'd never really given enough of myself to anybody. I just wasted a life.
Starving, thirsty, and without hope, Steve feels that death is now a certainty.
And then I got scared. This is very real, and you're gonna be dead in a matter of hours if you don't snap out of it and get yourself together.
In a final act of desperation, Steve searches for anything that might save his life.
And it just, something happened, and it just clicked, and I go, oh yeah, the fork.
Steve hopes that a fork might just be strong enough to secure a patch to the raft.
Jump around and jump for joy or anything, but that was just like the hugest victory of my life.
But Steve's elation is short-lived. His supplies have virtually vanished. He's still hundreds of miles from land, and his body is desperately weak.
Well, yeah, I got out of that, but now what? I'm still doomed. There's a day off your life. There's another day off your life. I really didn't think I was gonna make it. It really was a period of just hanging on. Oh my God, this is such marginal life. Looking at my watch and thinking that minutes had passed, looking at it again and it being like 30 seconds had passed. It was like, it just seemed to drag on a really long time.
After 66 days alone, Steve's final lifeline is gone. His solar stills have reached the end of their working life.
The cloth on the bottom is rotted out. It's going to be totally useless. There's no way to repair it.
His only means of producing drinking water is now gone.
I just figured this really is it. You know, I have no hope anymore. It was ending.
Steve now only has 3 cans of emergency water left, and his body's toxic salt levels are pushing his sanity to the limits.
The physical part of me is going, hey, there's water over there, let's go snag that. But there was that overbearing rational part of me that was going, no, I don't care. Unless, you know, you are dying, you're not getting into that right yet. This is a view of heaven from a seat in hell.
Alone on the ocean for over 70 days, Steve's body and mind are now shutting down. His only hope is to reach land.
I expected to see the islands like days and days before now. I should be reaching the islands. I should be seeing some sign of reaching the islands.
But then Steve has a shocking realization. If he's miscalculated his position, currents will sweep him back into mid-ocean and certain doom.
Maybe I'm way north of the islands, next stop England, you know, 8 months from now. So that was tough. I was very worried that I had screwed up and I wasn't going to make it. I just don't know anymore. Maybe I'm dead. I've never been dead before. Maybe this is what it's like, and this is what I deserve for my shabby life, and maybe I'm just gonna be floating around out here forever. I felt all the hopelessness of people who'd been adrift at sea before and never came back, and nobody ever knew what happened to them. And here I was amongst them, and I could kind of feel them all around me. It just was a horribly desperate feeling. It was over. I was just done. I had no more to give. All of a sudden, it was like all kinds of crates and bottles and plastic. To me, that was the first definitive sign that I was coming into changes. I'm gonna see something. The sun rose. It was like, pff, There's an island in front of me. I couldn't have been more than 10 miles out. To see the green of the island was like, oh, it was intense.
But to his horror, Steve realizes that the island is an impregnable fortress of vertical cliffs and razor-sharp coral reefs.
Oh my God, I've come all this way, and there's no way I can make a landing.
After enduring so much for so long, Steve can't let salvation slip away from him at the final hurdle.
This voyage is ending today. No question about it. One way or the other, this is going to come to an end. Great, somebody's actually, I couldn't believe somebody was actually out there.
On the morning of his 76th day adrift, Steve is spotted by some local fishermen.
He said something to the effect of like, "What you doing out here, man?" You know, it's like, well, I'm not out here, you know, improving my suntan. My senses were like plugged into an electric circuit somehow. They were all amplified so that every color was like really, really vibrant and every smell was really, really intense. It just was like heart-wrenching. It was so beautiful to me.
Having endured 76 days in his tiny raft, Steve's leg muscles have atrophied and he weighs just 100 pounds. After 6 weeks in the hospital, Steve is reunited with the parents he thought he'd never see again. The small island of Marie-Galante, where he's found, is just 60 miles south of his original destination, Antigua.
There's nothing noble in me having survived. It's just what I did. I had too much unfinished business, and I think that kept me alive to a large degree.
When a plane carrying a newlywed couple crashes into a mountain, the survivors are left stranded in remote rainforest.
We didn't belong there. It's horrifying.
To stay alive, they must battle the hostile environment.
You just couldn't stop your body from shaking.
Risk all to get help.
Brenda, get out of the plane!
What goes through your head is that you're not going to live through this.
And keep a grip on their own sanity.
We were all injured. We were all exhausted. There was no hope left.
Where's Michael? Michael!
not gonna come in?
No. Why not? Fine.
College sweethearts, Brandon and Brandy Wiley, have come to Costa Rica in search of travel and adventure. They've been planning this trip since they married 6 months ago.
I met Brandy in 7th grade, and she moved away to another high school, and then we reunited in college and began to date.
Can I get 2 orange juices?
He was very adventurous, very independent. I think what attracted me to him was the adventurous side of him, that he kind of took me out of my box a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
We had basically sold everything that we had owned and moved on to just travel. I think what was attractive most to us was the fact of the unknown, the fact that we could just pack our bare essentials and X amount of money and see what happens.
Their adventure starts with a 100-mile flight to a small town on the edge of the Corcovado National Park.
Have fun, guys.
Bye.
But getting there means a 30-minute journey on a small aircraft, something Brandy is dreading.
See, it's not so bad, is it?
I guess not.
Flying was something that I did not like to do. I remember it being a little scary because it was just a little puddle jumper. It wasn't tall enough for you to stand up straight. It was really small. It was really small.
No, let's sit in the front row. Come on, it'd be really cool. We can sit at the cockpit.
No, let's just sit one seat behind.
Brandon said, "Hey, babe, let's go sit in the front row." I think because of my fear, I said, "No, let's just sit one seat behind." So we sat in the second row.
There are 6 passengers on today's flight. Last to board is American expat Michael Packard, who lives in Costa Rica and regularly takes this trip.
How you doing?
Hey, I'm Michael.
Brandon.
Brandon?
Nice to meet you.
Brandy?
I've done the flight so many times that I was just looking forward to reading my book and getting back to town.
For me, taking off is scary.
Hey, it's gonna be okay, baby.
So I remember just concentrating on being still and just being calm and breathing.
Costa Rica is a small country that is both densely forested and very mountainous. If visibility is poor, low-level flying can be extremely dangerous. And clouds are gathering.
When I look out of the window and I see clouds, that's a little frightening to me.
Fine, okay?
I don't particularly like flying up there because it is rough rides sometimes. They are small planes.
But on this flight, Michael sees something out of the ordinary.
I noticed the 2 pilots conferring with each other, looking a little concerned, and I realized what they were doing was looking at coordinates in these books, trying to pinpoint their position because they weren't sure where they were.
The plane has basic navigation equipment on board, but the pilots are relying on charts and maps to reach their destination. But now they're flying in dense cloud and almost zero visibility. They're unaware that they're already off course and heading for a mountain.
These clouds are getting very dark.
It's fine. Brandy said, look how thick these clouds are. And so I looked outside of our window, and it got darker and darker.
Oh my God!
It's horrifying. That was my ultimate fear coming true.
What goes through your head is the fact that you're not gonna live through this.
You're headed for the mountain. You're headed for the mountain to die.
I remember thinking, we're not flying anymore. We're going through the trees. Is this even happening?
My stomach dropped. My mind just went blank.
To hear things break apart, just the sound that it makes is unbelievable.
My first thought was, you're not getting out of this.
I wake up and it's freezing cold, and my entire body was soaked in jet fuel. I was in a plane on vacation, and now I'm in a black hole that I can't move my legs, and it's blood just everywhere. Brandy was head to toe blood. And I remember thinking, oh my God.
Brandy! 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 Wake up! Can you hear me? Brandy! Wake up, Brandy! Brandy, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
My first memory was Brandon talking to me.
Brandy, listen to me. You gotta get out of here. We're covered in jet fuel.
Oh my God.
Get your belt, your seatbelt. Let's go.
I remember feeling completely panicked and completely in disarray.
Hurry, go! Get away from the plane!
Outside the plane, Brandy is horrified by the devastation of the wreckage and the bodies of the two pilots.
Trees were knocked down. There was a mess of plane parts, wires. There's smoke everywhere. There's people wandering around. There's people that are dead. How could this have happened? How could the pilots have let this happen?
German Silke Freebold and Costa Rican Alvaro Zuniga have also survived the crash. But the danger is far from over. Leaking fuel is soaking the wreckage, and Brandon is trapped inside.
Brandon! Get out of the plane! It's on fire!
I just remember having something on my legs.
Brandon is pinned under the body of a dead passenger, Costa Rican Adolfo Strasburger.
Hurry up, Brandon!
Go! Get away from the plane! Get away from the plane!
Quick!
Get away from the plane!
The survivors need to get a safe distance from leaking fuel. But in severe pain from extensive burns, Alvaro is unable to move.
Come on, we gotta get away from the plane!
Now able to take in the extent of the wreckage, Brandon and Brandy realize just how lucky they are to be alive.
The wings were ripped off, and the fuselage was turned upside down, and from the seat in front of us, the plane was completely dismantled.
Hey, let's sit in the front.
Oh, let's just sit one seat behind.
By total chance, Brandy's request that they sit in the second row has saved their lives.
I just remember thinking, there's no reason and no way that we should be alive right now. If anyone were to be sitting in that front row, they would have been killed. We should have died. No rhyme or reason about it. It wasn't our time.
Baby.
Brandon is bloodied and battered. As a trained nurse, Brandy instinctively takes action.
My wife went to school to be a nurse. It was just intuitive that she had known what to do.
He had broken all the bones around his eye, and his face was swollen.
He also has deep cuts on his arms that are bleeding heavily.
Okay, it's okay, sorry.
Silke is relatively unhurt, but appears traumatized by the death of her friend Adolfo.
It's okay, sweetie. I'm a nurse, all right? What's your name? Silke.
Silke was not in a good place. She was psychologically pretty messed up. I mean, she had been conscious the whole plane crash.
I saw the Jose.
I was really worried about her mentally.
Suddenly, Brandon remembers there had been 6 passengers on the flight. 1 is dead in the plane, and 4 have survived. So someone is missing.
I'm Michael. Brandon. Where's Michael?
The next thing that I remember is that I woke up on my back, looking up at the sky and the trees. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I was just in a plane crash. And I'm alive. I remember just thinking about where I was, about where the plane was, because I didn't see anything around me except for trees.
The sheer violence of the crash has thrown Michael Packard's body some 200 feet from the plane. Adrenaline floods through him. He's unaware of just how seriously he's injured.
I was in shock, so I really didn't feel the pain yet.
Michael has a severed Achilles tendon and a crushed eye socket. He has 4 cracked ribs and a punctured lung. It's a miracle he's alive, but he'll need an even greater miracle to survive.
All of a sudden, I heard voices. And I started to make my way towards the voices the best that I could.
He's here. We got you, man. It's okay.
I'm just happy there was somebody else to go through that with. Because I knew it was going to be tough.
Michael, I'm a nurse.
Put your weight on me. It's okay.
All right, Michael, look at me. Okay, I'm a nurse. I'm just gonna check you.
Brandy instantly recognizes that Michael is in serious trouble.
He didn't look right. He was pale, really dehydrated. His eye was sunken in. He worried me the most.
Brandy is concerned that he may have internal bleeding, which, untreated, could kill him within hours. But imminent rescue is unlikely. They've crashed miles off their original course and are totally lost in Costa Rica's 10,000 square miles of impenetrable rainforest. And with both Michael and Alvaro seriously injured, the clock is ticking.
Okay, really hard.
I could hear radios. I'm not even sure if it was Spanish that I was hearing or what it was, but it was definitely a transmission.
It's the plane's radio. Their only link to the outside world, and the only way to get the message out that they've survived. But returning to the fuel-soaked wreckage is a massive gamble.
So I'm thinking, what are you gonna do? Flip a switch and have the whole thing blow up? We're stuck in the middle of nowhere. We've got to find something.
Stay here. I'll be back.
Brandon, I don't know if you should go.
It was a lifeline, but I was terrified that the plane would blow up. Absolutely.
Brandon! Be quick, okay?
I had to get up over the pilot and more fuel and more glass and more metal.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Is it working?
It's dead.
What?
It's dead.
It was devastating. There's nothing we can do. We're in dense jungle. The only people that could give us any type of guidance were the pilots, and they were dead.
It's rainy season in the jungle. And while the downpour douses the fuel-soaked plain, it quickly becomes a deluge.
The rain was just insult to injury at that point, you know? It's just torrential downpour.
We were thankful that the rain was finally going to put out the fire and drench all the fuel and drench everything, drench the wires, get everything just wet so that there wasn't that fear of an explosion or more fire.
You need to get Michael water.
The rain has finally allowed them to give a desperately dehydrated Michael a drink.
Michael? Okay, we're gonna get you some water, right? You lean back on me.
Listen,
Open
Michael.
your mouth.
Hey, listen, Michael, you're dehydrated, okay?
Put your head back.
Got a drink.
Put your head back.
This water, okay? You're dehydrated. Okay, Michael, listen.
And with the rain, the temperature drops fast.
It was dark, it was cold, it was wet. I knew that we were in dire straits. And the jungle was taking over.
Despite his injuries, Brandon knows that if they're to survive, someone needs to take charge.
Listen, I know your face is broken apart and your nose is broken and your friends have their ribs are broken. And why don't you figure something out to do about this?
The only available shelter is in the wreckage of the plane. Brandon decides to move Alvaro and Michael in first, as they are the most injured and at serious risk of hypothermia. For Alvaro, the pain from the severe burns he suffered in the crash makes any movement agony.
Once they were laid down in there, there was basically no more room for anyone else.
I remember after they put me in there looking out at them and how miserable they looked and how cold and shivering they were. I did feel a sense of guilt, but I also knew that they put me in there for a reason. I could see my condition was deteriorating.
It was a deep, deep feeling of depression. We were still cold and we were still scared and we still had no idea what to do.
Listen! Guys, listen! Where is it?
A rescue helicopter has been sent to search for the missing plane. But the crew can't pinpoint its location, as the plane's emergency beacon has failed. By pure chance, the helicopter is flying directly over the wreckage.
It was a great feeling. We knew then they were looking for us.
I started thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna make it out of here.
But in the thick rainforest canopy and dense cloud, the wreckage is invisible. The smashed plane and the survivors have been entirely swallowed by the jungle.
They were right above us and they can't see us. That was my lowest point.
They're lost in thousands of square miles of jungle, with no beacon to transmit their location. If they can't be seen from the air, they may never be found at all.
I remember thinking we have absolutely no chance of being seen now. None.
The light is fading, and with it comes a whole new set of dangers. Far from their comfortable urban lifestyles, the 5 survivors are completely out of their depth.
I live in the city. I go to an office, you know? I'm not a crocodile hunter. So, yeah, I was a fish out of water from the time I got there.
But Brandon is determined to do what little he can to look after his new wife and the rest of the survivors.
Brandy, we're gonna have to find a place to stay tonight. Try to get warm.
Brandon was for sure taking care of me. He was probably the most selfless one there, trying to take care of everybody else except himself.
Silka. Hey, Silka. Come on, I need your help.
Luggage was scattered for the full 200 yards of the wreck site.
So how are you holding up?
I'm doing okay. Just wish I hadn't seen everything, you know?
Yeah, you can imagine.
Hey, look, it's my stuff.
Try and get as much of it as you can.
She had purchased a lot of sarongs in Bali to go back and sell in her shop. So we got all those to tie off other people's wounds, to keep some people somewhat warm. Gathered all the clothes that we possibly could.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. You okay?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. Wait.
Wait.
The jungle has closed in around them.
No, I thought it was this way.
With no landmarks and no reference points, it's impossible to tell which way is which.
No, wait. It's not it. Come on.
It was amazing to me that we might have walked not even 50 yards. Like, and the plane itself was entirely gone.
I don't know.
It all looks the same.
I think we're in trouble.
It's a dangerous situation. If they head off in the wrong direction, they could be lost forever.
Hey!
Brandy!
Hey!
Brandy! Brandy!
Brandon! Where are you? Brandon!
Brandy!
I'm here!
There. Over here. Brandy!
You keep shouting.
Brandy!
Where are you?
It's a close call. Had they been separated from the group, Brandon and Silka would have had an even slimmer chance of survival.
It was extremely scary to see how fast the jungle could swallow up an entire plane, 5 people, all the wreckage.
Back in the wrecked fuselage, Michael's 4 fractured ribs move and grind with every breath. Alvaro can see he's struggling and does his best to keep his spirits up.
Alvaro had kept saying to me, "It's okay, Michael."
We will be rescued tomorrow. You'll be okay.
And I was amazed by him trying to console me, even through all his pain.
To make matters worse, Michael is now breathing on only one lung. The other has collapsed.
My chest was just in so much pain I couldn't breathe. I was definitely thinking about whether I was going to make it through the night. I knew it was going to be probably the longest night of my life, and I wasn't looking forward to it.
You gotta keep warm, okay?
As darkness descends, Brandy is concerned that Michael won't survive the night.
I thought the clock was ticking for all of us, but I thought Michael would be the first one to die if we weren't found.
She knows that any rescue efforts will be put on hold until the daylight hours.
Now, we really have to live this out. I just remember feeling just this sense of overwhelming doom.
With night comes the cold. High on a jungle-covered mountain, there's no way of drying off, and any warmth is quickly drained from their bodies.
Silka, come over here with us.
She's in shock. She just wants to be alone. I've never been in cold like that. There was nothing that could stop your whole body from shaking.
It was a brutal night. It was freezing. We were scared.
In the dark of night, it's dangerous predators that prey on their minds.
I can remember smelling blood, having blood all over all of us. I knew the smell of blood, we're gonna attract something.
The smell of jet fuel smells so distinct. But the smell of blood is even more distinct, and you would smell it above everything.
What the hell was that?
It's just a howler monkey. Listen.
You're scared every second of that night.
In the pitch-black jungle night, every sound becomes a potential deadly threat.
A different sense of panic set in.
Suddenly, something moves just feet away in the undergrowth.
I remember hearing the rattling of leaves, and it seemed to be getting closer and closer.
Brandon!
What? We realize that it is something walking around.
They've no idea what it is, but their imagination tells them what it could be.
Our adrenaline was out of control at this point.
When it came near, we would yell something out, it would stop.
What is it?
Michael! Alvaro, get as far back in the plane as you can!
Michael was bloody enough to be a target, and Alvaro was absolutely immobile.
Whatever the animal was, it moves on. But there are still hours until daylight. Michael is increasingly weak, and Brandon is desperate to stop him falling unconscious, a clear sign that Michael's brain is shutting down and his injuries are pushing him closer to death.
He was just in really bad shape, and I would yell out to him.
Michael!
Michael? Are you awake?
Michael! Yes! He's awake.
Okay, just checking in, buddy.
I think I definitely aggravated him as the night went on, but it's better than losing his consciousness.
Michael!
They wouldn't let me sleep and kept yelling to me. Michael, are you there? You awake? Michael, Michael, all night long.
Michael!
I knew it was right, but I wasn't wanting to listen. And I was getting almost mad. Just leave me alone. Just let me sleep.
In the cold light of dawn, Brandon and Brandy know that time is running out. Michael has made it through the night, but his body is increasingly starved of oxygen. His breathing is shallow, and he looks like he's dying.
Doing good, buddy. Hang in there, Michael. Okay?
I think we would have lost him in another day.
It was like, how are we going to get through this day? It was a paralyzing feeling of what to do next.
They've been missing for 18 hours. They've crashed in remote jungle, and there's no sign of help.
We had given up hope for rescue. We thought if we're gonna stay alive, it's gonna be because of us.
Okay.
We can't sit here any longer. So we're on a mountain. There's a valley below. Why don't we go down there, see if we can find a river to follow?
By leaving, they risk getting lost, with no guarantee of finding their way back. But they must take action. If they do nothing, Brandon knows Michael will not survive the day.
To be forced to come up with the answers that are going to make you survive or not is something that I wouldn't probably wish on anyone.
I think we should go. We all need help pretty bad. I can just stay here and watch us die.
We had no other choice. We had to do something. You have to take that risk, or else you're all gonna be dead.
Michael, we're gonna go out, okay? See what we can find.
Michael fears that if they're left behind, he and Alvaro will die.
He kept saying, "Don't leave us. Please don't leave us."
I didn't want to be left alone because I thought if they got lost, they wouldn't be able to find their way back.
I felt bad leaving them, but I also knew there was nothing more we could do for Michael or Alvaro. And there was no good in us just sitting there looking at each other and not doing anything.
It could have worked out. It could have been completely catastrophic.
I remember when they left, I had this lonely, empty feeling.
The others have set off in search of rescue, leaving Michael and Alvaro helpless and alone.
I was incapable of taking care of myself, and Alvaro was also incapable of taking care of himself.
Within minutes of leaving the crash site, the three realize the difficulty of the task ahead of them. Injured, dehydrated and hungry, they're wandering directionless in one of the toughest environments on the planet.
You're getting hot, you're getting sweaty, you're getting aggravated because you haven't slept all night and you're hurt and you can't walk. I'm okay. So not only were we falling down, but there were thorns in the side of bushes that were 2.5, 3 inches thick.
After an hour of forcing their way through the impossibly thick jungle, the group can go no further. It's becoming clear that they have made a terrible mistake.
It's a pretty devastating feeling when you know you've made the wrong decision and there's nothing you can do about it.
They've become totally lost. They can't go forward, and they don't know their way back.
I knew that we were in dire straits. This is gonna end up how it ends up. Period. There's nothing we can do at this point. There's nothing we can do to help ourselves. There's nothing we can do to help anyone else involved here. I was terrified that we were done.
The survivors lived through a terrible plane crash. But lost, alone and defenseless, it's the unforgiving jungle that will kill them.
I had lost all hope. We were all injured, we were all exhausted, we didn't know where we were going. There was no hope left.
At the crash site, Alvaro, immobilized by his burns, can only look on as Michael barely clings to life. His collapsed lung makes it agonizing to breathe. His blood pressure has plunged, and this could trigger a fatal cardiac arrest.
It was miserable. I was definitely on a downward spiral. If I didn't get rescued soon, I could only last so long in this condition.
Michael has lost all hope of rescue and resigns himself to death in the jungle.
I heard voices yelling. And all of a sudden, this man appears out of the jungle.
Are you all right? Over here! Over here! You're safe now.
An army of Red Cross volunteers has been combing the area for 24 hours and has finally found the crash site.
I just started crying, and it was the most emotional period. I couldn't believe it.
What was that?
For the others, believing they're lost forever, a miraculous stroke of luck saves their lives.
Just like in Indiana Jones, the guy comes through the fields and he has a machete and a backpack.
Against all odds, a local farmer and member of the search team literally stumbles upon them.
It was the most incredible feeling I've ever had. It was just pure joy.
Oye, este es Marvin.
It was complete elation. I remember sitting down and thinking, this is unbelievable.
Rescued from the Costa Rican jungle, Silke, Alvaro, and Michael made a full recovery.
I think it was just luck that I survived. I have a beautiful family. I have 2 beautiful sons. When things get tough, hey, you're just lucky you're here.
Brandon and Brandy's injuries healed, and they returned to America. They're still happily married and have 2 young children.
You can't go through something like that and not be closer. I was with my husband. He was my family, and he was right next to me, taking care of me.
I am definitely happy to be here. I'm happy to have a second chance. And I'm happy to have my wife and 2 beautiful little kids that remind me every day of the reason that I'm probably here.